Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign diaries / fireside chat, because this is what we're doing again today. And we have Carl with us today. Hello.
Hoi hoi.
Hello.
Pleasure to be back.
In the studio. It's usually often have you in the studio.
Exactly.
That was the joke we made last time.
Yep, you've not changed your decor, still the same.
No, yeah. This more soundproofing on the walls.
Oh yes, of course. Much better.
Sure. Yeah, we're just going to have... a lot has happened since we last spoke. I think, listening to the last chat we had, I think like a lot of your concerns, hopefully, back then, you feel have somewhat changed. I hope that your concerns have changed. So, two big things that you were... We'll talk about this first. That were kind of in the forefront, and I agreed with you to a large degree, was the pacing, like having tons of questions with no answers, and the like role-playing lull due to we didn't know Susie's like state of interest, which I think personally has like gone through the roof. I think she's shown that she's probably more interested than any of us ever thought. And she's had some really good moments during the game, and she's even Dan has pointed this out to me. He was like, she's even like been the one to say, "Oh, when are we playing?" You know, whereas before we're like, "Oh, does she really want to join?" Blah 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 blah. And even on the same note, I hope that the pacing issue that was being felt, hopefully, is somewhat better. Like there's been more things going on, more answers, more resolutions.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Both of those things, I think, have definitely gone in positive directions. For the pacing thing, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, a lot of like pacing issues in the game now are coming down to just us. Because you say at the end of like every session, "Oh, we didn't get nearly as far as I thought we would," because like we're just sitting around talking, RPing or whatever.
Sure.
But you know, that's coming down to just because we're getting into the game more, I guess, and we're enjoying the talking and. Whatever it is we're investigating and all that razzmatazz.
Yeah.
Some of the plot threads have been explored more. We've got more info. We've got a gist of like stuff that's going on now, and I feel it's a bit easier for us to like, if we want to like go and find action, like as quick as possible, or like follow a plot thread along a bit more expediently to get to more juicy stuff. So. Our pacing feels more in our control now, and it feels good.
Yeah,
and it's keeping the players engaged.
And I remember saying last time, like yourself, having looked through Wizards of the Coast books, they're not the greatest when it comes to like this happens and then leads into this, and you're like, okay, so why did we do all this thing? Like what's we meant to do here? Things either happen like so quickly it's unreal, or there's so much stuff comes out of nowhere, all that kind of stuff. So I have more or less fully broken away from the book now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that pretty much that started to happen maybe a couple sessions after Forsburn. I started like, okay, I've got the groundwork of some of the book stuff, and that's obviously in my notes, but I've not looked at the book since then at all, apart from the monsters at the back. So hopefully that has something to do with it, where it's like break away from Wizards and start just trusting in my own my own kind of internal rhythm and clock, and just let things happen.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of story bits happening. I feel like a little bit we've gone sporadically from one moment to the next. What with like the Forsburn incidents that he has, onto like the whole Ilva situation and that stuff, and then going straight onto like the Dwargar stuff happening after that.
Going back to Susie as well. I also quite enjoy linking that in. How subtle her story bits are in comparison. They're not forgotten, but they're subtle, and they're in the background, and they are going to slowly start creeping up a bit more and more. And she's actually intentionally playing that sort of stuff like close to the chest.
Yeah, I love that.
She is aware of like the stuff that's going on with Forsburn's character, with Stronus' character, with Frida's character, but we are not that aware of what's going on with her character, and she absolutely does. And she's talking with you with it, and she's got her own stuff going on. So yeah, I'd agree with you. I say she's more invested. I remember I've had a couple sessions in the game where I talked to you after saying like, man, she had some good RP that session. Like,
yeah,
talking about some stuff, and yeah, no, she's been a much more active player since the early days where we maybe had a session where she didn't really. She said all of a couple sentences like the whole session. Whereas now, yeah, she's definitely getting more invested, and it feels like our party's rounding out a bit more too. So it's good.
Yeah. The thing I love about the mutiny thing is the idea. I talked about this in the last one. There's supposed to be like this paranoia. It's that the whole kind of who can we really trust in our party kind of thing. And out of all of you, like she still has that. You said this is when you were talking about mutiny in the last chat, like she has that air of mystique, and I think she still has that. Okay, who is this person really? You know about her ties to the Great Priory, but you don't really have much else. Like she's very, like she knows about your issue. Like she knows about you guys' stuff. Like Freda's story, we've probably seen and heard the most of so far. But like she's very, there's almost like you could take almost literally the way Susie doesn't directly engage with Freda's story, that kind of aloofness. Often you can take that to be like mutinies, like, okay, I know of your thing, but like, there's that kind of almost like nonchalance. It's like taking a step back from it, like almost as if she is a bit adversarial to other people's stories. Maybe, what I'm trying to get out there a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But,
like,
she also gets to be herself as well whenever some cute animals come along.
Yeah. Or a moose named Nigel, for instance.
A moose named Nigel. He's very cool. He has like sunglasses and everything.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, geez. So let's go on to let's move on to we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to Forsburn. Basically almost an entire full character arc. I remember when we last did this, he'd basically just been introduced, and so we didn't really talk about Forsburn much because there wasn't really much to say, and the conversation was more on like Stronus, who he was, how he came to be, his whole leaving thing. I don't think we even fully went into Forsburn's introduction, his background. I of course have since gone hugely in depth into Forsburn. I think that he's my favourite character. He has been my favourite character so far. He's had a lot of great moments, and almost if I look through my notes, like of the session diaries and things, there are countless times where I've started off the diary saying, what a fucking session this was, or, what a great session, or I hope people like Forsburn because this is a great Forsburn session. Like, many, many, many times I've gone, oh wow, this is just fantastic. Like, actually, the session immediately after we're introduced to Forsburn was the one where you went off to Bremen and found Dagna. And I spoke with Raz, and my first 3 words at the beginning of that diary are, what, capitals, like, what, period, A, period, session, period. Because I do think it was from there, especially because when we left off that chat before Forsburn, it was like, okay, we need more story bits because pacing is a bit off. And then we hit with that session where we get the Dagna, and we get the huge Thakari lore dump, and her story basically just smacking her in the face. Yeah. Oh, and like this is also a few things happening where we had Perfidy, that white skin tiefling, that whole stuff kind of came up. Like, who was this person? We got to see a little bit of Forsburn in fights. The whole Merrin thing starts cropping up here. And then, like, I think the next big thing that kind of happened with Forsburn would be nothing really kicked off there. It's probably the whole thing in Tourmaline.
I mean,
that was a massive turning point.
That is the major thing that I, sent Forsburn around for like stuff in the party.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of fun for me. But
that's been my favourite session so far. is that one. like I thought the Shadow of the Dracari one was that, but then boom, it was
Yeah,
that.
no, yeah, go on.
I was just thinking, actually, there is one session which does take over for that, and that was on after you guys killed the Chain Devil.
Yes.
After that, where Dan had a tear in his eye, we got that great monologue from Susie as Mutiny between you and Forsburn, and that whole even messaging afterwards, she was like, I feel a bit upset. You know, she was like emotionally, she went, I feel a bit upset about that game. Like, yes, I've done it. This is a cool that made me feel fuzzy like for the whole afternoon about that game, because like that was such a good game.
You got a reaction, because I remember like for that in particular, like, you know, Dan was full of so much anxiety for his character. He really thought that she was going to die, and obviously all the emotional turmoil with, you know, Dagna and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I was hyped as fuck about the fight, and I thought there was a possibility that someone was actually going to die. I was like, oh god. And for me as well, I also had a bunch of fun doing like the end moment, like with Dan during the fight. I enjoyed that creative end to it. And then as Susie said, like getting an actual emotional response from her. That also was a very good moment. The whole thing. But I've enjoyed a lot playing Forsburn. He was pretty good. I think in my initial inception of him, it was a couple things, you know. I wanted to step out of Stronus for a little bit, play something roguey, because I haven't had like a full opportunity to like play a rogue in a campaign yet, and I've always sort of wanted to. I wanted to play something a bit more, I don't want to say edgy, but it's the appropriate word for it, I suppose. Something a bit more, you know, guttural, primal, or whatever, that can act a bit more adversarial to the party at times. Give a little bit of a different view with somewhat of an air of authority about them. And it felt like good pacing as well for Stronus to exit the story for a little bit, even if there was stuff in the story that I know you said later, man, I wish Stronus was maybe here for this.
Yeah, there's been a lot where it's like, oh man, this would have
that in itself was its own hurdle with you and me behind the scenes figuring out, okay, well, what's Stronus doing with this bit, and like, you know, like trying to figure out how to reinsert him and what he knows, what he doesn't.
Yeah, we talked about last time, like when we were talking about Stronus leaving, we came to the decision like it doesn't matter what Stronus has been up to. Where we've soon realised it probably does. I mean, I think it was you more than anyone who was like, I want to know what I've been doing. I said, yeah, we should probably come up with that. You're probably right. Yeah. So yeah.
No, Forsburn has been a lot of fun. I said the initial concept with him, with you and me, was, you know, we wanted to
be a spanner.
We wanted to provide some like some adversarial sort of weight to Frida.
Yeah,
Raina at the time, and do that sort of thing, because Stronus, and I think that was apparent as well when Stronus returned last session. You know, when I made that line to Mutiny, it's just saying like, oh, how are you doing with whatever it is that, you know, you're looking for? I still don't really know you that much, you know. He was very focused with Frida, whereas I intentionally wanted to make Forsburn as well more integrated with both members of the party. And by the end, you know, he absolutely had that relationship with Frida too, where it was somewhat, you know, rival, adversarial, but friend as well. But I think he definitely came to trust Mutiny more as well, out of the two.
Oh god, there were so many moments with there's at least like 3 I can think of the top of my head where Forsburn has like been open really with Mutiny on a few times, and it's like, oh. And
wow. I chose that relationship specifically as well because I saw the parallels of, like, you know, these two races which are judged by humans, you know, because of pre-concepts or whatever. I drew on a lot of, like, you know, just that sort of racial element. And that really is a deep-seated part of, like, Forsburn's character, you know, because because, you know, his military training, what he's brought up to believe, the stuff with humans, and then he goes on to meet humans that are nice to him, and then his biases get reconfirmed when he meets those pieces of shit in Tourmaline.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to meet Flintlock, which flips his view again. He's initially incredibly angry and like seeing his initial state and making him believe that maybe a potential answer just never will exist, and he needs to go back to what he was. And then the tempting of those scouts that he meets like out in the forest as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of fun stuff. And of course, as I said, my favorite personal moment for him, just the absolute letting the rage go against those fuckers in Tourmaline. I love
with
that
the
so
bear
much.
traps, that was like,
So fun.
Not PG-13.
Not your mom's, Forsburn.
No. But don't you say with the amount of opportunities and like conflicts that Flintlock, Flintlock, yes, but that Forsburn has to deal with, and like I keep saying to Dan every time we have a talk about like Forsburn in the past, it's been like Carl is playing Forsburn perfectly because he is so fucked up and conflicted in the head. He is so out of his depth. He is so trying to make sense of everything, and it's so many things battling with each other, from his nurture and nature and everything that's going on. And it's such an interesting character, and I think it really has helped that we've been able to condense it down into like a 10-session span, because then you can see that whole thing and you can see it build up. Like if you were to look over these like episodes or whatever, you could see it's going smooth sailing, and then tensions slowly start to build, and then they spike massively, and like how he deals with that, and then like the interests with the fights between Freda and him that just doesn't help things along, and then he starts to cool down again. Like you said, he has that moment with Ilva dying, which kind of resets him again. But then he goes to Flintlock and he's like, okay, maybe he's got some idea of how I can put this together, and then that whole thing like throws your expectations out of the wall as well. Flintlock was, I kind of like made him to kind of be like, I didn't from the beginning of the game, I didn't know Forsburn was going to be a character, so I knew I was going to have this Khotun lore. I know he was going to be like one of the traitors that helped them from the War of the Long Shelf. But since Forsburn's inception, I did start thinking, right, I need to do something with Flintlock. This needs to be an interesting thing when he eventually comes here.
The meeting with him as well was also very poignant,
Yeah.
That whole thing, the multiple meetings even. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea with like I wanted to try and, because he was different at the start, so I have changed him to flip more with a cooler, to fit him in more of an interesting story with Forsburn. And I suppose the grand idea is, this is kind of what Forsburn might end up like in 20 years' time.
Yeah. And
this is when you figure shit out. It's like, this is what you appear to be.
And I think the bit that. One of the small bits that I quite enjoyed as well was like during like one of the scenes, because you and me are like very much like on the same page as well for like what we expected the direction of Forsburn and this story to go in, was like when we were talking, the group was talking to Flintlock in like his tower or whatever he was in, and we went to go leave his office, and I said at the end, it was just like, by the way, I'm intentionally staying. I kind of want to have a word with him. And you're like, oh, good. He wants to have a word with you too. I was going to say something. Yeah. And then we played that RP scene out just kind of naturally because we were both aiming for it. It wasn't like sprung on the other. That sort of thing's cool. And when you had that, that talkative relationship between DM and player, because I felt like that helped a lot for. It wasn't just me like playing the character perfectly. You also provided like a lot of good. Not that I played perfectly, but like I'm saying, you also provided like a lot of good opportunities for me to play back and forth. And I felt like I was purposely playing the way he is flipping back, because that's how people are. It's hard to change. It is really hard to change. You have moments where you say, "Oh, I'm going to do better," but then what's natural occurs to you immediately. I'm tolerant of humans, I'm friendly to humans, and then the shit in Tourmaline happens, and I'm obviously going to absolutely let loose a bunch of like racial stuff about humans.
Yep. And then that bastard of a DM that is me, and then immediately gives you the opportunity to completely turn on them with that encounter. Like, it's all done purposely. Like, I'm going to give him every single opportunity. I was kind of scared, like, what you were actually going to do. I was like, man, if he turns bad, I mean, this is going to be a great story thing, but if he takes them up, oh my god. Like, I'm going to have to start a new story arc. Like, wow. Like, but so... yeah, I like chuck the opportunities at you just to conflict him even more, and then after that, you know, like we would say after that kind of thing, and I think you did say that Forsburn like still had it in his head a couple of times, even though he knows that they're probably just going to kill him when they've done what they want with him, because you did that insight check, like you could tell. So yeah, I think
desperate to belong. So
yeah, that's exactly the word. I think after the Ilva stuff, you looked to Flintlock because you were desperate at this point. You've had so many choices, and like, I need to find a way to figure something out. And yeah, even then, it still took some time after the whole like defeating Nildar, and then Freda freaking out, attacking you again.
Yeah.
Which is just pure. You're just the closest person. That was purely like, it could have been mutiny, but it didn't. It wasn't. Yeah, and then Flintlock, right at the very end, you know, still not giving up on you, basically, and just saying, right, okay, if it's going to take this drastic measure, if you really want out, you should come with me. And then
I really was thinking, like, I never fully respected what the ending to Forsburn's character would be, but yeah, I remember like saying to you at the end of one of the sessions, I was like, fuck, I didn't expect him to like go like this sort of like ending route. I was expecting maybe more tragedy, or maybe a death, or I don't know, something like mean.
Yeah.
God damn it, his arc has come full circle.
But but you say tragedy, but he has had some traumatic shit happen to him in these past lot of days. There's been a lot of stuff has happened to him. Jeez, yeah. I love Forsburn.
I've enjoyed playing him, and
he's great.
It's been bittersweet to retire the character up now and bring back up.
As you said, Chris has deactivated him on D&D Beyond.
Yeah, no, that's very great.
No. It's when you next log on and go, wait, what? Forsburn is level 10? What? What the hell? What's happened? What has he done? But no, yes, I've got some. I kind of know what Flintlock wants Forsburn to do, what he's wants to help with. And should she survive this campaign, Coach and live a while. So Forsburn might be going forwards, because that whole thing, you know, is, you know, the whole orb and vision thing. That's tied to the whole like 3 campaign arc. That's like linked to Armin stuff. That's linked to campaign 2. That's linked to eventually campaign 3 when we get there.
We're saying like 3 years down the line, there is a possibility Dan will find Forsburn somewhere.
Yeah, it's possible if he's still around, and you know, the Rime stuff is resolved, and Flintlock is able to move on to do what he wants to do. Forsburn will probably be with him. So yeah, there's totally. You already know that I like sprinkling things from other campaigns. What with we were talking about Relsaram last time, because I remember saying to you, yeah, Dan should have known who he was, and you're like, oh, I don't think he did, because you had like a theory that this RK character and this note from in the mansion was this Relsaram who was burned at East Haven. I've written down some of your things from last time, so we can go over that later. Some thoughts that you still have, because there's been a few like you said, there's been a few things I've put down that haven't come up again, but you have also probably seen by now there are some things that have been picked up, and some hints, especially in that last session or the session before, where you had that big old piece of paper where you made that excellent joke that he ran out of blue ink halfway down. And where there's some things in there where hopefully you can like start piecing bits up. But yeah, that's besides the point. That's off topic. Forsburn, yes, Forsburn, yeah, and you might actually see him a lot sooner than you guys think, because of something that you did before you left.
Okay, all right.
And I might as well tell you. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but it's something to do with the ring.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, because you know you can't take it off now that you've put it on. And you kind of just went, oh, okay. You just kind of brushed it off in the game. But yeah, something's going to happen.
We're in a wrap-up sort of like...
Yeah.
We were going on to the meeting. I was just like, well, I can't really waste time on this. So
yeah.
Off we go.
Yeah. So you might see him a little bit sooner than you think when it comes to that. But yeah, so let's go on to Stronus. Let's stick with your character for a little bit. He has returned. He's made his long-awaited arrival.
He has.
He has done some bits and bobs. He's like helped out at Dugan's Hole. He's pretty much carved out that cave as a nice little base of operations. He has reconciled. He has spoken with Kithrea, and yeah, he has returned. I have to say, like, the way he did seem like different when you role played him back. Is that because he just wanted to be happy-go-lucky? He just seemed a little bit more jolly. Is that like is that an intentional kind of like defense, like he's put up as coming back, or is that just a genuine like recovery?
He is trying to smooth things over.
Right.
I think a bit intentionally, you know. He has moved on from his guilt, but I would say he still is a bit worried about, like, you know, whether he's burned any bridges. So he's trying to be, you know, overly nice, overly cooperative, and he more so still trying to hide his fear. And we touched on that a little bit in the conversation, you know, because especially he's going to be known as like a scholar of the 10 Towns now.
Yeah.
He knows for a fact that Minrock will know he exists now. So he is pretty scared about that, and he is trying to, you know, hide that with the work and the jolliness and the return and all that sort of stuff. And I think also in the last session as well, when we got to talking about the members of the Care Arcanum, that sort of stuff, that triggered some painful memories for him and made him somber a little bit at times, and yeah, that sort of thing.
It's just a good opportunity to lore dump.
Well, I was imagining Chris sitting back in his chair. I was like, okay, let's see how much Carl's written down.
Yeah,
be talking about stuff.
It was also, but it's also a good point there, because obviously that Thruna was present at that conversation. She's kind of like your cornerstone NPC at the moment. Is Thruna pretty much putting the pieces together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for everyone. She's kind of like the guiding,
sure.
The guiding hand. She's kind of dictating this whole like Dwargar thing. She's pretty much behind that. It kind of you don't get to see it, I don't think, very much. You've seen her in fights now. You've seen her fight, and you know that she's gone off and done things. But it was there also to kind of showcase. Yeah, she is a part of her organization. She is a intelligence gathering thing. She knows a lot of shit. Most people don't know the names of the people on the council, but she did. Most people don't know the heads of the Care Arcanus, but she did. Just trying, to put in some of those things that Thruna is quite knowledgeable. Especially if coming up once we get through all this Jarlsmoot stuff, like it comes down to you guys to decide, okay, who do you want to be of your intelligence gathering? Is it going to be, who do you pick? You've got options. It's this person, or this person. Can hopefully give you some choices to make there.
Yeah.
And stuffy stuff. But yeah, I should imagine the whole Dwargar situation coming to light probably doesn't fill Stronus with much hope either. Things have only gotten worse really since he's come back from the Vindor Wildlands.
Yeah.
So he's trying to face up to it.
And he might start feeling some new sort of guilt regarding that, because even though he was focusing on himself, that himself could make him feel a little bit ashamed that he hasn't been able to help more. He did help out in Dugan's Hole, and he did help Goodmead a bit more, but he would be the kind of person who would shoulder that sort of blame and responsibility. It's why he left the group in the first place.
Yeah.
He took the blame himself when you could argue it was because the other two objected him.
Yeah.
You know, that situation happened, but he still puts that on himself. So.
And it's kind of weird because, like, when you think of his, especially like when you had that conversation with Yoshi at the thing, when he said he went away from his land, and like you said to me immediately, said, okay, Fronus is kind of having a bit of disdain about that because he went away from his land that had problems. So it's like, I did think to myself, that's how Stronus started, like. More or less. Well, no, he didn't run away from Mount Rinrock. He was sent away. But then but after that whole happened, you did kind of exile yourself. You didn't. You know, Stronus did have so there's a bit of hypocrisy there.
Yeah, of course. In Stronus's mind, he's excused because of the situation. And,
right. I see.
The way that he got to his, where he was in the Arcana and how he fell from it and that sort of thing. He's excused. It doesn't necessarily apply to him. But now that he's a bit stronger, maybe it sort of does, and so that's why he's trying to do more.
Troubling with that, struggling with that. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
I'd say my hope for Stronus is I would just love some dramatic way for me to explore the and maybe show off the sort of like tragedy of his backstory. Call it selfish if you want, but I would love a way to sort of like explore that in some way. The whole thing, with the Belor, thing, like coming up and like running its blade through the Master of the Weave and that sort of thing, like the big slaughter. I would love a way to be able to re-explore that viscerally, whether it's through like magic nightmares or maybe fucking what's his name? The bloody
Raz?
Not Raz. His name's not coming to mind at the moment. Bloody he's his villain. I can't think of it at the moment for some reason.
Vokun.
It's just Vokun, yes. Like Vokun doing illusion magic on him or something like that. I'd love a way for the party to be able to view that. this just massive slaughter scene.
I was just thinking, out of all the characters, Stronus is the only one who doesn't really have dreams. Like, I've not took him aside to give him a dream sequence or anything.
No, he doesn't really.
I wonder if, like, how does he sleep at night? I've not really thought about that. How does Stronus sleep? Is it mostly okay, or does he have nightmares about that thing?
I'm sure not all of his sleeps are restless. I imagine most of them are fine, but definitely he has a nightmare or two about that fateful evening. No doubt. Because I mean that in itself is like probably the key.
Huge traumatic experience.
Well, that in itself is like to a T survivor's guilt, right? Like that situation, you could definitely chalk it up to that. I mean, he knows that someone is a villain in that instant, but why did he live? I'm sure he thinks that a lot. So
Vokun had someone to blame.
Yeah.
Well, all I will say to that is Stronus will get a spotlight. Everyone has. Freida's been in it for a while.
Of course. I have faith. But,
I have things thought of. I'm looking forward to. I don't know if it'll happen in the next 10 sessions. Maybe it will. But like the next time we get a chat, we're like, oh my god, Stronus' story has been so cool to play, and whatever. It'll be cool to see.
I will say two things about Stronus as well.
Stronus.
The first, I am indeed have actually been working on a little idea for maybe a custom spell.
Nice, good. I keep bringing it up, and you're like,
Well, it's because I'm bad creatively. But once I figure it out, I'll talk to you. Once I've ironed out the kinks and think that it's reasonable. And two, I don't know if you caught it, but I said some absolute bollocks last session, and I don't know whether you took notes on it. when Freida said something about like, I was completely talking off the top of my head, but I guess it's part of fucking Stronus' backstory now, or like his relationships. Like when it was mentioned about like him having a crush or something.
All right, yeah. I didn't know if you were just lying or you were just adding some new dimension to him, or if you were, or if he was just exaggerating for the sake of storytelling, because Jorga.
Well, I don't know. That sort of just led to other. But now Dan thinks that. Now Dan thinks that he has someone that he's crushing on.
Yeah.
That's true. Has someone he's crushing on. So I guess that's part of his thing now. Maybe there's a woman somewhere in Mount Minrock that he pines for. I don't know.
I mean, I have someone I know, like, if I was writing this as a book, I know who it would be. But obviously it's stuff coming out in the future, and I can't say it because it's spoilery shit or whatever. But
I wanted to point that out because that is one of those instances where it's just like, okay, I never had any plan for this. So
yeah, okay, I didn't know.
This is happening, I guess, maybe. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you can decide what to do with it as you roleplay, I guess. You don't have to.
Yeah, sure.
But
it just caught me off guard because, like, she just poked it suddenly. It's just like, you've got a crush, don't ya? And I'm just like, you rolled a nat 20 on insight, you fucker. Like, I have to do something with this ball. Now you've handed it to me.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
That's reminded me on the point of like insight checks. When just go back to Forsburn for a second. When he went back to Raz to ask him the questions, and you asked the "What the hell were you doing out there?" thing.
Yeah.
And then you did the follow-up question with like, why were you, what was that gold shit? And you incited the second one. Dan messaged me after that and goes, he didn't incite the first one? Question mark.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, he private messaged me. He's like, why did he incite the second question and not the first question? So, I don't know. Maybe Raj just sounded believable for the first one, and Carl didn't. I don't know. Maybe Forsburn didn't want to. I'm just going to put that seed of maybe slight paranoia in your head.
Yeah. I mean, part of me says, I don't know, maybe player error, but the other part of me also says, like, well,
did Raz lie to me?
It's not like you should, you insight like every bit of info.
No.
To you either. So yeah, no, maybe I just found it believable at the time.
Yeah.
And so who knows?
Yeah. I just thought that was a funny thing, and I thought
he gave a kind of like vaguish answer anyway. So
yeah, he did. Yeah. To be fair, Raz did. And I've not even told listeners like the real reason, or the reason that he's there, and that's because it's too linked in with, like, I think we talked before about like Raz is basically kind of like DM direct intervention, right? I think we talked about that with Forsburn, and like it goes further than that. Like he's like in lore or something. I've not gone into it in a video, but he's like some sort of cosmic representation of fate, basically. And I was like, I won't go into it in a video because it's tied into like the cosmology of and how like the planets were formed. It's like a huge big thing, and so it's like I'm not even gonna go into it. But yeah, there is that kind of thing in the background. So Raz is like this thing because he's everywhere.
I don't think you saw that coming though. Me like going to him to ask that question.
No, I didn't. Yeah. Because even when you said I'm gonna ask him again, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. You probably have asked him, and he probably has just blown you off.
Yeah. That's the energy he gives, like when you speak to him. It's just like, all in good time. I have all the answers, but I will give you none. That sort of thing.
You pay me. Yeah.
Can you do this? Pay me. No.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
All about technicality.
Would you like to hear my overall like theory then regarding like the glacier and that sort of thing?
We can go with your theories, yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's not really a theory. This is just my guess, I guess, for like the main like plot in the background. I think there's something underneath the glacier, and
well,
like,
you know that.
Is that from what the?
So this is like reaching this. I don't know how your notes is. Do you remember? This is like going back to the unpicked up plot points that yet to have been resolved. When your first job was to investigate those 3 missing people.
Yeah.
And one of the notes you found was something like something beneath the glacier. That was that line.
I know that was there, but I mean like something like big and evil is what I mean. Like something mythically big.
Oh, right, okay.
Is what I mean. Something giant. I don't know, like a titan, something of that nature.
Atlas is beneath.
I don't know. Yes, Atlas is beneath the earth, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a giant ice dragon or some shit. I don't know. And bloody Cyphrea is the only god that is aware of this. I guess.
You mean Aurora, the Frostmaiden?
Aurora, even. Yeah, Aurora is the only god that's aware of this,
Mm.
and she's intentionally doing the rhyme in order to keep it down there so it doesn't come up and fucking kill everyone, I guess. That is my main theory, I suppose.
That's cool. Interesting theory.
Because when we had the funeral thing, you made it very clear that hey, that there is some god bickering going on here.
Yes.
And Aurora has always been tied to the rhyme. So that is she is making the rhyme happen. Oh god, fire alarm's going off. Can you hear that?
Yes, I can.
Oh god. I'm pretty sure I'm fine though, so I won't worry about it.
It's like at work when no one moves. Yeah.
Should we just stop until that ends, or
Should
we keep going?
I don't know. We can keep going.
Okay.
It's not too bad.
Alrighty. So, yeah. Aurora has always been tied to that, and with all the bickering and stuff, yeah, I think she absolutely is doing this for the benefit of everyone. And even though everyone is suffering, it's a much better alternative to what would happen if there was no rhyme. I think is the angle that is being worked.
You think I'm doing a bait and switch? I'm setting her up as the villain, but
yeah,
she's not.
In all, she is trying to protect everyone. That sort of thing.
I think Dan has a theory that it's all Dunamis, Zarazes. He thinks it's. I think he told me briefly that he thinks it's him, and it's all to help with this invasion, or whatever.
I think there are 3 players. I think there's this main force, as I've said, that Aurora is like trying to keep underneath, this primal ancient evil or something that's gonna wreck everything. Mm-hmm. There's the Duragar and Dunamis and Zarazes and stuff. They're in league with Minrock, and they're trying to take just advantage of all the chaos. And they're, let's say they're the lawful evil group, and the
What,
main
you think
one...
the Dwarg are in league with Minrock?
Yeah, because bloody.
You think Minrock's been corrupted?
Yeah, Minrock has been corrupted with the Duragar because thingy. I keep forgetting his name. Vokun is clearly linked with them.
Right.
Vokun kind of is Minrock at the moment, so
yeah.
So there's that.
Right.
I think they're sort of like the lawful evil group that is trying to take advantage of everything, and then there's this primal evil chaos that Aurora is trying to keep out of the chaotic evil. And then there's the third group, which has been on the back burner for a while. This institute, I can't remember the name, but whatever.
Azarine Assembly.
Yeah, the Azarine Assembly. They're in the background. They're pulling strings. They want to make use of this main thing. I think they're trying to manipulate it for their own end. Man meddling where they weren't supposed to, sort of deal.
Right.
My takes on it.
Well, that fits solidly with the outline that I gave you last thing, where I described the plots as an onion, and I gave you the different layers. So that fits in with how I'm telling this story. So that could be good. Good line of thinking. I don't think you've probably thought about that a little bit more than certainly than the others have. I think Dan is a little bit. I think Dan is thinking very short term. I don't know. I don't think he realizes how long the campaign is going to be. So I think he's just thinking, oh yeah, it's all to do with this Dwargar stuff, and when we've done that, game over. Even though that's what I have told all of you, oh yeah, this story is in layers. You've got Rime, what's going on here? You've got this plot, what's going on here? You've got this, what's going on here? All seeds that I have given you since the beginning and what caused all that plot issue, but you've got all that background stuff now. You have all these pieces, and at least one of you is putting things together or coming up with theories at the very least. It's cool. I like it. Cool, I like people. I like the theories. It's good. It's a good. Yes. On that note of theory stuff, I've got a list of stuff that you said. Oh yeah, you just had immense interest in what Nark and Squawk were about, and obviously you've seen how that's come full circle now. Left right at the beginning, and they've come back right. I think it's just a nice writing thing as well, to have something that happened right at the start of the campaign, and just have a nod to it at the start of a new act. Something poetic about that, and I like that.
I
as a literary
truly
thing.
would have wondered what you would have done though, if we had not honored their word.
Yeah, it would be different. It would be different.
You'd be like, shit, how do I show my trailer now? That sort of thing. Like, fuck, what do I do?
I'd made a hard gamble on Freda to do the right thing.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I would have as well, but
yeah.
Still, that's spooky if we did the opposite.
Yeah, that would have been a 180. The other interest you had at the end of the last time that you were curious about was the dark-skinned goblin, which of course now you know to be Dunamis.
Yes, yeah.
Is that how it is? And then obviously there was the Relsaram theory. You thought he was he wasn't actually burnt. He was a simulacrum or something, to use your words.
Yeah.
But yes,
him for a while, but maybe he's with the Azurai assembly fellas, and they're just doing stuff in the background still. Still didn't get rid of that fucking that object that we have.
Yeah, I say there's still you still have you're in wartime mode. Like you're definitely being told by Hruna to do certain things to deal with this immediate threat, but there's still stuff in the background. They're like the missing people thing, like the character, every single character you've met so far, the whole introduction of Kranich, that was the whole purpose of having Kranich at that speakers meeting, so you can see, look, this tiefling's a dick, and then you have that whole tension between Hruna saying about he's the header of a cult. That was there kind of to remind you of that woman's son in Bremen. There is this whole cult thing, and how it might be tied to Susie's, to mutiny or whatever, because she reacted to it. There's a bunch of, I want to say maybe at least 3 or 4 questions still unanswered, that are back there, that may creep up on you again while you're focused on this Dwargar stuff.
Yeah.
There's still some bits, but yes. You kind of answered my thoughts on Rime overall already, just in that little theorizing bit. So that's pretty good. Let's have a moment to speak about Freda and her story bit.
Sure.
What's your thoughts on how that's been uncovering, and thoughts on that, theories on that?
I find it interesting how reluctant Daniel is as a player to go where what friends may lie. He didn't really want to go to Bremen. We had to push him into that.
Yeah.
He didn't really want to go to Lonelywood. We had to push him into that. That sort of deal. He doesn't like going where his story is for some reason. I want to rush where my story is, except for Minrock, obviously. For obvious reasons, but yeah. Either way. The Freda dynamic has been cool. I enjoy how you've said it as well. That's Dan doing that. It's not me. When he lost.
It literally is. It's him reacting to the stimuli, and I get the blame for it.
It's cool that he's willing to do that and make those situations. I know some players who are just so reluctant to put their character in a compromising situations. He totally should, and Dan embraces that. So
he reluctantly embraces it. Every time I make him make a wisdom save, he's like, "Oh, Chris, really? Yes. You have not dealt with this situation. It's
been fun. I said before, Forsburn, I've enjoyed the bickering between them, their interesting relationship, her story. I think we spoke as well out of the game about how sometimes Dan sort of shines through just his kiddish glee and stuff of how he wants to still have his silly moments with Freda and have that childlike innocence. But in general, I think he's playing the character fine. The way that Reyna has evolved into Freda and tried to be a bit more serious about matters. She's definitely doing better in combat, so that definitely helps.
That's true.
Not just falling over like a plank of wood.
I think that's been better since she switched. Since we allowed to switch over her feat that she had. Mm-hmm. Just swap over the tough. It just she was feeling a bit squishy anyway. But yeah. But the problem now comes in though. You've probably noticed in the last few fights. like enemies don't just use physical slashing. I think she's had a few fights now where she's been like hull damage, psychic damage, just things where she doesn't block. So it, like the ante is being upped, hopefully, in terms of combat. Things are doing a bit more damage, I would hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms there.
I was surprised. I was surprised as well. I was just like, yeah, first Stronus combat, I'm back. Oh fuck, you've already done over half my health.
Yeah, you need to get used to that, not having evasion, not having all that kind of stuff, not having cold endurance, frozen endurance rather. Yeah, you even lamented, no, I don't have evasion.
No,
where's my
AC?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
it's okay. I've spells now.
You have spells, yes.
Spells. Freddy's good. Freddy's good. I'm enjoying Freda in the party, and her story. We're no doubt going to be heading into that a bit more as we no doubt fight this. I forget her name. It begins with V.
Ravison.
Ravison. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a V in there somewhere.
Yeah, we've kind of been in Freda's story for a while, I would say. Since we've had Dagna, we've kind of been in her story. You know, the whole Ilva thing was obviously very much her, although we did sprinkle in a little bit of, you know, mutinies rising to the surface.
I feel like that's usually how the character stories sort of like play out. Usually the main chunk is like Freda's story, then we go into really intense, like short, meaty sections of like Forsburn's story.
Yes.
And then you know, we've constantly got like mutiny stuff just peppered in the background, like playing the subtle track with that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is cool. But yes, we're heading to. We are in the Lonely Wood currently.
Yes. Sorting out the Lonely Woods. I
assume we're gonna fight this stag at some point as well. Just fight a natural beast. Why not?
Oh yes. Well, he's kind of been hinting at, hasn't it? It's been foreshadowed.
Yes.
So there is
He will
that.
have glowing blue eyes, and it'll suck fighting him.
Yeah, and he apparently glows really bright white.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. I did leave a little message at the end of the last set. I don't know if you picked it up. I said to Dan, I said, "You're going to find next session the most interesting, Dan. Not because of Freda, not because of Raina, but as Dan." And he thought it meant, oh, I'm going to scare him with some like shadow people or whatever. And I still don't know if he was talking to me the other day and goes, I'm interested about what's actually going to be interesting to me next session. I went, well, you'll have to wait and see. Like, it's going to be... I hope you'll find it interesting. But yeah, we'll see. Any like thoughts to what if at all like her shadow thing ties into? Like, you know, Freda is very spiritually inclined. Like, she can speak with like the spirits of the wild, and I think she told you like she tried to figure out some stuff, and the spirits wouldn't be answered. So maybe like, is there like some link there between them and the divine, according to your theory, or anything like that? Do you think?
I truly don't know. I've not pondered a massive amount on her sort of thing. Call me selfish if you like.
That's right. Well, yeah, it's not for you to. I just wondered if you had any thoughts.
No, I haven't really got too much thought to it. I thought at one point, like crazy, I was just like, maybe she like has a patron and she doesn't know it or something.
Oh right, she's like hidden warlock. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I want to do that as a character in a game. I want to play and like pretend like just get like really good archer stats or something and just pretend that I'm a fighter and like have no one realize. And like when I do Eldritch Blast, I just do it through my bow, so it just looks like I'm firing a bow, but I'm doing tons of damage. Everyone's like, how the fuck are you so good with a bow? And I'm just like, I've just trained. But then like secretly I'm a warlock and who's like got all this power, and I just try not to show it at all. I want to see how long I can last in a campaign. I think that'll be so fun to do.
Yeah.
I love the idea of that. That's like we've talked about warlocks before. There's so much you can do with warlocks. Like you just directly chuck them into the story. They're really quite interesting. So yeah, like Mutiny's revelations, you've already said. Mutiny story stuff. It's very
the most with Mutiny. I'll just interject now. Like was when me and Dan we were talking about stuff, and then it was about what we were doing with our like week off or whatever.
Yeah,
downtime. And as soon as he was just like, you prompted, it was just like, remember you did the thing last session that the other guys didn't know about. And me and Dan were like, what? Huh? What?
Yeah.
You did some stuff behind our back? The fuck? Like, it's just like, and I'm thinking to myself, but I'm the one who does that. I do stuff behind people's back.
Yeah. Yeah, she messaged me before the session in question.
And then I was racking my head. I was like, when the fuck did you do this? When did you do this?
Yeah, and you've still got no idea what it was.
I don't know.
No, I don't think any of us have said.
The only thing I can think of, because like, it's to do with like devils and shit, like her sort of thing. Because
that is what the Grey Priory is about. Yeah.
The only two places I can think of where she may have done something was when we were in that inn in Bremen, when we were talking to that woman and like she was passing that artifact around, or
and that was me at playing her at that point.
Yeah. Or when we fought the Chain Devil. And I don't know what the fuck she took for the Chain Devil, so there was nothing on it, I don't think. So I don't fucking know. I don't know what that whole deal is.
Yeah.
She's doing something in the background.
She's doing. I love that she's the one with the mystery.
I'm thinking she's caught in a deal of some kind, like sort of like that elf woman that we also like unintentionally fucked over. But,
yeah. Well,
I think
kind of Freda's fault.
Me and her, me and Susie were gonna help her, but Dan decided, nah, fuck that.
And get her mum killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think. When I've said to Dan about what does Raina think about, being responsible for her mum's death, and he goes, she doesn't think about it. She cannot think about that.
I mean, that is a response, to intentionally like.
She's like, she cannot think about that
at all. Yeah.
No, it's just like.
If there's no more action left, and I imagine like Freda that's like. Does not need to hero currently, just gets a moment to like sit down and like, that will definitely just immediately like hit her mind as soon as she's not occupied.
Yeah, there's so much immediacy on Freda, given what happened there, and like she's been chucked now onto the mantle of save our tribe, like with the inevitability of be the head of our tribe, coupled with the like I've not even passed my like Aramente, if you like, I've not even passed my pilgrimage that I left on. How the fuck am I am I ready for this? So she literally is just going from moment to moment, and she's still very much in that kind of grieving. I mean, of course you would. It's your fucking mum, and you've just found out. So he's doing that very well. I don't know if that's intentional or what, but yeah, that's a very cool Freda kind of thing.
As for Mutiny, just based on like the hushed whispers you and Susie have had while trying to not play the pronoun game, just like remember that, Chris, like that sort of thing. I'm thinking Mutiny's caught in some deal of some kind with some demon from a level of hell, and she's trying to get the fuck out. She wants out of it, and she's trying some way she's not supposed to try and get out of it, out of the deal. Otherwise, she has to do something bad. I think she's been told to like go to the the material plane, go up there, do some bad shit that you probably don't want to do, and she's trying to avoid that and get out of some contract or something. That is my guess.
I think the only person she's spoken a little bit about it to is Forsburn, and it was like I picked it up because obviously I know her story, but there are like a few things that she said and it's like, oh, she's alluding to that, and I don't even know if I think Susie does know. Like I think we need to give Susie a lot more credit. I think Susie knows exactly what she's doing with some of her mysteriousness and aloofness bits, and I think out of everyone, I probably have DM'd her the most about things.
Mm-hmm.
And like she's like she responds, and a lot of times she doesn't respond back, but she absorbs it, and then she'll use that in a future game, or she'll leave me a message saying, "Can I do this?" So, yeah, you can do that. And there's a lot of stuff that Susie does when playing Mutiny.
Well, this is the part of the interview as well. Well, I'll ask you a question instead, and just be like, knowing like where we are now with Susie, do you regret ever like asking that question about like, should I drop Susie's story? Like,
hell yeah.
Drop Mutiny's story?
Yeah, of course. The reason behind that was because we didn't know if Susie was really into it, but now we swapped to the nighttime games. I think that's helped dramatically. I think your concentration level goes up at nighttime because you're a night owl. Susie's does. Dan's probably the only one that really suffers, but he just gets tired. You saw him yesterday when you were over. He got tired at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm okay either way most of the time. Sometimes I have an off day where I'm just kind of a bit meth, but I get really enthused, and I've been enthused about doing Act 2 for ages.
Yeah.
So I'm super hyped to get into like the next part of the story, and just to start knocking down some of these walls that we've got. But yeah, of course I regret thinking that. I'm glad I didn't have to.
Because me and Dan were the ones that said it. Just like, no, go ahead with it. I'm sure she'll enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
It'll be good. Like, and yeah, no, she's gotten into it. And I love as well how you're also, trying to engage her as a player as well. Not just for her story, but also making sure that she also has, like, because you want to make sure your players are also enjoying the game for what it is as well.
Yeah.
And making sure that she's also having, moments where she can, she's enamored with speak with animals, like at the moment, doing that stuff with Nigel. It seems like silly, but that is the sort of stuff that, gives her fun and makes the sessions memorable, when she can have funny moments talking with animals or gets to trip over the speaker or whatever. Yeah. Those moments of brevity for her, I think, really endear her, because she talks about those a lot as well. Like,
yes, yeah.
I told AJ, telling her boyfriend that she did this and that in the session. The boyfriend's like, "You're crazy."
Yeah. I spoke to Nigel. Yeah, yeah. Mutinies and Susie. She has a lot of information, and like you guys don't know, all like the stuff that she's been given. Because she's had dream sequences, obviously, things like that. So she has a lot of things I've sent her, and I just foresee one day in the future something's going to crop up, or something's going to mention something, like either one of you, or like an NPC or something, and it's going to be like, okay, guys, I've got a level with you. I know about this. Okay, sit down, everyone. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Because normally when she does a check, she's like that. I say the information and she goes, yeah, that what he just said, which is understandable because you don't want to just regurgitate what the DM has just said. Everyone's can hear him anyway.
I did that the other day, like when we had when we played, we went to the town. I was talking to that dude. I'm just like, exposition, transfer.
Yeah, downloading. Yeah. That dude, by the way, like. I was so tempted for him to just blow you guys up, to blow you off, like just to have an outsider and have him be, no, I'm not talking to you. I don't know if there was a check I made to do or anything. I don't know what kind of changed my mind there to make it. I'm gonna be a dick to the players. I'm gonna make it really hard for them to figure out what to do. But then I think something in the back of my head went, no, Chris, that's not fun at all. they want to know what to be able to do, But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to next session. See what will happen. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. But I think Mutiny, Stronus, we've talked about. You've done your Rime overall stuff. I think that's it. I think unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, I think that about covers it.
I think that's good.
Talked about everything, have we not?
Yeah. It's kind of a little Josh. We'll probably have a moment where like we're both at work, and then we'll start talking about something like, this would have been good to capture. Although to be fair, we don't often work together really much anymore, do we? Because department changes and shit. All right then. I will bring that to a close. Thank you everybody for listening, and keep your eyes tuned for the wrap-up of session 23. I think that will be going up soon, but it might start to make more sense about some of the things we've just talked about. But as always, thank you guys for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.